So I didn't want to wait to print these. So you know how these aliens that I have had this little ball on the top right here? I took two of them from these two, and I took the balls and put them right here. Let me see if I can get this to go down just a little bit so you guys can see a little better. And then painted those silver. And they're not just balls, it's like a ball and then it's got a little circle behind the ball. So I went ahead and painted the whole front part silver. And it looks really good. I dry brushed it. And then I'm going to take tape and tape it off and really get a fine edge to make it look good. And since I'm doing the red-eyed Rogue One, I looked at pictures online and I realized that the nose part is silver. I do not have the right type of tape for this, so I might just freehand it, see how close I can get. Now I'm dry brushing spray paint, so I don't know if I want to do this. And it might actually be more of a gunmetal look, so I might have to go with this anyways. Anyways, I'll just put it on for now. Then when it dries, I'll cut out the shape in tape that I like. And then I'll cut out, once it dries, I'll cut out a shape. And then I'll repaint that around there black. I think that'll just be the easier way to do it. And then I'll just kind of adjust the color with where to go. I have this here that I think might look better, because I don't think these are chromish, but I don't think that is. Now we'll put it up on the screen here so you guys can see it. Yeah, it's pretty big. I've still got to do some wet sanding to this. I still haven't done that last wet sand, and so I'll go over that and wet sand it to smooth it out a little bit. Probably do a little bit of a cut out the shape that I want, and do that. And the wet sand will smooth it out. In fact, I might be able to just take wet sand straight across, because there is a lip right here. And I might be able to take wet sand straight across and it'll create that perfect thing, because there's plenty of black layers under there. Alright, so I've got this real cheap black here, and I don't like to use a different colored black, but I'm all out of the other one. I've only got a few. I just got the top basically left to do. There we go. And I don't know how good this stuff is. Spray this first. Right. I'm just going to do a real thin layer, because this is supposed to be super fast drying. I had to do some sanding, and I've got like a white spot there on the back. You can see. And then I had one on the other side, so. Gotta put like a super thin layer. because this should dry in the next few hours, and then I can go in and wet sand that at another couple layers. I'm going to see if this fast drying paint works better. So we are coming to the end, and this thing is looking good on the side here. Can't see any seams. Well, I can see one here. Just kind of putting it all over. Looks good. Surprisingly, that did really good. This paint doesn't really work on plastic, but I think since I already had this down here, well, not this one, yeah. Oh, it was the same. Since I already had this down here and sanded, I ended up using this stuff, which is like $1 something at Walmart, super cheap. It goes on really thin and dries really fast. So actually, you know, if you put that other stuff down, it attaches to plastic better than any other spray paint rattle can that you can get. I think, in my own humble opinion, way better than anything else. But you can kind of use this as a buffer in between. It's super cheap. That way, you know, a can like this is like $4. This is like $1. So, you know, you get a can like that, you spray the first layer on it, wet sand it, and then you do this for all the rest of your wet sanding. It's a really good idea, because then you're not wasting any of that. Like on this helmet alone, it's got so much black on it that I used half a can. That was at half. I used half of it doing the Deathstroke helmet, and then I used a full can of this, and now I've already used a little bit of this. So on this alone, and I've used a full can of this. So instead of using, you know, $4 and $4, that's $8 plus a half a can, you know. So that's $12 just for those 3 cans. Instead of that, you can get, you know, 4 of these cans for about $5 with tax and stuff, and just get all your wet sanding and smoothing down, and it dries really fast. So you can spray it and wet sand it about 3 times a day, instead of spraying this stuff on it and waiting 24 hours for it to dry and then wet sanding. You know, this is so much quicker and cheaper. But I wouldn't go with this as the final coat. I mean, you may like that color, but it's so thin that if I get close enough, you can still see where the sandpaper scratched against. So see, it covered up and made it all black, but you can see all the little tiny marks, and that's because it goes on so thin. This stuff is a thicker spray paint, and when you put it on, it smooths out. So it's a better finish. You know, put your first coat on with it, or with a primer or something, you know, like that there is only 3 something. It's the same brand, but it's a primer, and then wet sand it, and then start using that real cheap rattle can. So I'm going to spray a little bit of this on, just to kind of see how fast this dries, and if I have to wet sand it off, then that's my own fault. But I'm just kind of doing a little experiment to see how fast it dries, because it feels dry, and I just did this a few hours ago, like 4 hours ago. I might just do a real thin layer real quick, just to kind of check it out. No, it's not. It's doing a pretty good job. I'm going to finish this up, just see what it looks like, and we'll show you guys that, and then I'll do the clear coat and stuff off camera. That way I can show you guys what it looks like in the reveal. So, but see now, this completely, see this thickens up. So now you can't see that line. It went from being able to see it to not being able to see it. And get in close, you can't see any of those sanding marks. And this isn't going to look like this plasti dip. I mean, this will get, once it dries, it kind of flattens out and everything. It looks really good and professional. So it doesn't have this texture to it when it's done. And I'll show you guys that. But anyways, I'm going to finish this up. Alright, it is all sprayed on. Still wet, but it looks really good. I can dig it. That looks so much better. And that looks professional. It really does. Can't wait to add the clear coat on it. Make it just shine like crazy. This thing's gonna look so good. No spidering, no nothing. That just seems like the better way to do it. I think that's how I'm gonna do it from here on out. I'm just gonna use this for all of my wet sanding, because I wet sanded this like 3 times today. Just sprayed this on. A couple hours later it was completely dry. Wet sanded it, came back out. I dried it off with a t-shirt and set it outside for about 30 minutes, let the helmet dry in the nice summer weather. And after that, after 30 minutes, it was all dry. Came back out, sprayed it down again with a layer, sanded it down again. Yeah, 2 hours after that, I just rinse and repeat, just kept doing the same thing about 3 different times. And typically I can only spray it the one time. Then I have to wait at least, if not 24 hours, I have to wait at least 8 hours. And if you wait at least 8 hours, it'll dry enough to where you can do a wet sand. But then you have to wash off all of your wet sand because it's real thick. So if you wet sand it with this stuff, there's a lot that stays on. Like you can see my hands are covered in it. That's from wet sanding. You know, the extra stuff that you're sanding off. When it's that other cheap stuff, it's not very much. I usually wear gloves because my hands are completely black. This is from that cheaper stuff because it's a thinner layer. Barely get any that comes off, but on this stuff you get a ton that comes off. And this is all good knowledgeable stuff for you guys to have.